consider buying your processed oboe and bassoon cane from those friendly folks over at Barton Cane. Processed with care and precision for your everyday reed-making needs. Take the pain and injury out of reed-making by letting Barton Cane do the hard, repetitive, boring stuff. Free up time for practicing, happy hours, hikes, baking, and spending time with friends and family. Barton Cane, here for you. Visit www.bartoncane.com.
Ugly Duckling Oboes is dedicated to the development of young oboe players. They provide quality handmade oboe reeds, private lessons, and high-quality oboe sales, rentals, and consignments. The oboes that they rent are conservatory mechanism oboes that include the left-hand F key and low B flat key. All are maintained by oboe-specific technicians. In-person lessons are available, as well as virtual lessons for students who live outside the geographic area or have transportation and scheduling challenges. They also offer online college audition coaching for high school juniors and seniors who plan to audition to be music majors. Visit uglyducklingoboes.com for more details on how you can set up yourself for success and sign up for their newsletter. That's uglyducklingoboes.com.
Hi, I'm Galit Kaunitz.
And I'm Jackie Wilson. And you're listening to Double Reed Dish,
a podcast for oboists,
bassoonists,
and the people who love them.
Hello from Indiana.
Hello from the same time zone.
Oh my goodness, this was easy to set up. Well, and to the listeners, before I forget, I am so sorry if this sounds like poo. My microphone cord adapter thing, I went to just go plug it in and someone stepped on it or it hurt someone's feelings and got beat up, but it's broken. I got to buy a new one. And so I'm not using my good podcast mic.
So I log on and I see her scraping it out with a bassoon reed.
Well, listen, I have limited resources. I am not at my home. And so I was trying to MacGyver and see if I could get it to work. But
yeah, she had a bassoon reed like scraping around the adapter cord.
Day before yesterday, I realized that my wireless headphones were also broken. And so I'm like going to have to tell Chris, like, I'm breaking everything. And I look at my laptop and it's like not clean. I know I need to keep, I'm not good at keeping on top of my technology. And I just feel like such a mess. And so I was like, no, I can fix it. But I'm definitely just going to have to buy a new one. Sorry.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, while Becky was away on vacation and I was in charge of our 3 dogs, I lost all 3 of them at the same time.
So we're winning.
Don't worry, I got them back.
Yes, I already knew that. If you were dismayed that I had showed no concern, I already knew the story. But
they left my yard and ran straight to the neighbors and wanted to have a party with their dogs in their backyard. So they were pretty easy to catch this time.
Your renegade dog pack.
So, Jackie, you have some pretty excellent news. Would you shed some light on this really cool thing you have coming up in the next couple days?
Yes, I was a little cryptic on the last dish, which feels like honestly 4 months ago at this point. You know, when you work at camps, it's like time is both suspended and 5 times as fast as it normally is.
Yeah, each day is equivalent to 1 week.
Honestly. But yeah, I have not been able to talk about it because in many ways it wasn't my news to share, but also, so my friend and Pulitzer Prize winner, composer Raven Chacon, composed a piece for me out of his set for Zid Khalasa. It's like this collection of scores, and he dedicated each one to a different Native woman artist. And I was the dedicatee to one of them, which is not news. That happened in 2019. But he was featured this year at the Whitney Biennial in New York City, which I'm told I can't say New York City because it makes me sound like a tourist, but I am a tourist, so I'm going to say New York City.
Have you ever been?
I've never been to New York City before. So his works, because he kind of, people might be like, a composer is featured at the Whitney. He kind of straddles visual art and composition, because he does a lot of like sound art, and also he works exclusively in graphic scores. So is he a visual artist? Is he a composer? Yes, to all, purposefully. So among the collections that are being exhibited are these collections of scores from Zit Khalasa. And so he is hosting, or they're organizing, a performance of all 13 scores by the 13 Native women to whom they are dedicated. And in 4 days, I fly to New York for the first time and perform at the Whitney Museum of American Art in collaboration with Raven Chacon and 12 other phenomenally amazing Native women musicians. Not to call myself phenomenally amazing, they are, but like, you know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we can overdub this with listener. She was. She is.
Well, so yeah, I'm so excited. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but in many ways it is the most special performance definitely I have ever given, and in many ways likely will ever give. And that's not to be like, it's all downhill from here, but
it's like those like 40th birthday cards. It's like, you're over the hill.
Over the hill. But rather to like acknowledge how unique of an opportunity this is going to be, to share the stage with 14 other women who do what I do, who look like me, who are like me. It just doesn't happen every day. And to do it celebrating not only Raven's works, which he's so deserving, but also the piece is inspired. Zit Khalasa is, or was rather, a Native activist artist in the early 20th century. So she's really one of these like pioneering matriarchs. It's just so like, it's professionally significant, it's personally significant, it's culturally significant, it's really special, and I'm super excited. I like get all like when I think about it. So I hope I will be able to execute my bassooning. I have no idea what I'm gonna wear, but yeah, by the next episode, I will have, knock on wood, done this performance. I'm excited.
I'm so excited for you. Are you gonna have Chris take pictures the entire time?
I believe photography is allowed, in which case, yes.
I want to see pictures. I want to hear recordings. I want all of the documentation.
Well, there are 2 shows. There's a 4:00 and a 7:30, and I'm making him go to both.
Duh!
There are very limited comps, and so we got 1 comp for him at the 4:00 show, and I was like, I bought a ticket to the 7:30 for you. Like, I want you there both times. And of course, he's very supportive. But yeah,
are you going to wear something different both shows?
I don't think so, because they're going to have catering backstage. I think once we're there, they're not going to let us leave because they're like worried about corralling the musicians. Like, once they're there, don't let them leave until they're done with their obligations. Just keep them backstage.
Don't let them scamper around the city for an hour and get lost.
Yeah, no, I mean, knowing me, I really would get lost.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm so scared to like get lost. It's the biggest city in the nation. And Chris was like, it's literally a grid, right? So you just like walk one direction until it's time to walk the other direction, and then you're where you need to go. And I was like, I guess, but that seems difficult. I don't know. Like, what? I'm also very directionally challenged. So yeah.
Oh, same. Girl, you and me in a car together is not good.
It's so good. It's not you and I. Like, although all we would do is be like, whatever the money costs, we'd just get in a cab and be like, take me here.
I'd be like, are we going the right way? You'd be like, I don't know. I thought you were in the lead.
The cab driver's like, that's 4 doors down. I said what I said. Take me there.
Oh, so excited for you. That's so special and wonderful and just like once in a lifetime. And I hope that you will write about it and share with us, remember every moment and share with all of us what it was like.
I'm excited, and I'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah, just a couple weeks.
Oh
1
my
week?
goodness.
2 weeks? 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks. I think IDRS starts 2 weeks from when we are taping this.
Yeah.
So probably about a week and a half when everyone's hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't wait to see everybody.
Oh my goodness, we cannot wait. This has been so long in the making, just getting everybody together. I'm so excited to see everyone's faces, who's going to be there. I know not everyone can be there in the double read community that we're absolutely in love with, but I'm sure we'll see some of y'all. And if you see us, please come up and say hello and come to our live show.
Yes, come to our live show. We're going to be playing Nailed It, which is a spoof on the Netflix show Nailed It, which basically just means we've talked 6 people into humiliating themselves for public entertainment. And that's going to be in addition to everyone trying to play at altitude, aka humiliating themselves for public entertainment. So it's going to be a really fun conference.
So we've got the live show, which is going to be just an insane amount of fun. So we hope to see you there. And Jackie, you and I are going to perform some of our Double Read Dish consortium pieces at the conference.
Yes. Well, and we should say this episode comes out July 15th, which is the day that every single level gets sent their score. So, and actually it's in the middle of my travel, so you might get it early because I think I'll be in the air around the time I would need to send the score. But so everyone who's a member of the consortium should have their pieces in their mailbox right now. And we are going to be playing Mason Bynes's Pong and Connor Chee's Trio. And yeah.
And both of them are such cool works. They're so much fun. And I think you're going to love them. I think you're really going to love them.
Yeah, I think it's 4 new classics for our instrumentation. I'm so excited to share these works with everybody. And
and just to clarify, the only reason we're not playing all of the pieces, because they're all really great, is because of time constraints for the conference purposes. But yeah, all 4 of them are really fantastic. I think you're going to love them. And you can get a little taste at the conference.
Yes. And can we make a pact right now? Like, let's not judge how each other's reads sound.
If they vibrate, they're good.
It's just going to be like, the theme of this conference is cut each other's slack.
Yeah.
Listen with rose-colored ears.
I'm not sure. Is that COVID? Do your ears turn red?
Yes, red ears, not red nose. Especially people playing on like day 1 and 2, they don't have very long to figure out their read situation. Like, we just need to be like cheering for each other, fist pumping for each other. Come on.
If the reads make sound, it's all good.
If they don't make sound, you still got up there and did your best.
That's great.
Yeah. Like, just let us know. Write us and be like, I need you to come to my concert. And no matter what happens, you have to like stand up at the end and be like, bravo, bravo. And we'll do it. But you have to come and do the same for our recital.
I also want to plug, I'm playing in another recital with my colleague, Kim Woolley. It's called Women in the Salon. And you should come to that too, because that's going to be a really great time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 2 pieces, the Grandval trio and the Madeline Dring trio.
Well, I think you should both have perms and like your hair in curlers for the salon theme.
That's a really fantastic idea. Listeners, I did text Jackie the other day and I said, I am so excited for Colorado Hair Days because I think that my hair is going to look amazing at altitude.
So it's like reads less than or equal to hair.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, we have a plan.
Hey oboists, have you ever found it difficult to sort out when and how to find a new oboe or English horn? Oboe Chicago streamlines the process, providing personal and professional consultation and a large selection of lovely instruments. The process feels comfortable and thorough. Selection includes Effleuré of Paris, Howarth of London, Covey oboes, and Fox products. For a current listing of Oboe Chicago's selection, please visit www.oboechicago.com. For a credit of $100 towards shipping, mention Double Reed Dish when you call or email Shauna. That's oboechicago.com.
Chemical City Double Reeds is a full-service double reed shop specializing in the sale of instruments, cane, accessories, and sheet music. Double Reed Dish listeners can enjoy free shipping with code DRDISH. Visit them in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or online at www.chemicalcityreeds.com.
We are delighted to welcome to Double Reed Dish Bill McMullen, professor of oboe at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Welcome, Bill.
Hey, great to be here.
Our first question is always the same. We have our listeners get to know our guests by hearing how they started to play their instrument. So how did you come to the oboe?
Oh my gosh. I think the oboe came to me. Right. So I played flute. My dad was a very, very bad amateur flutist. Fourth grade, I played flute, and I was the worst. I really was the worst. And in the whole band, there were lots of other flutists in the band, in junior high and all. And I couldn't stand that. So a friend of mine, he was the only oboe player. His name was Steve Gong. And, he's in Florida somewhere right now, I think. He was the only oboe player. And he said, look, why don't you try that? And I did. And pretty much after I started playing along with him, he quit. And so then I was the only oboe player. And I thought this was really kind of cool. All of a sudden I got all these solos,
Bill,
So I'm sure a lot of people feel that way too, right?
Bill, did he quit or did you break all his reeds?
No, I never. I know what you mean. But the thing, he quit, and I never kept in touch with him, and I really, really want to try to meet up with him again and just say hello. And
we got to get the real story from him.
Yeah, really, yeah. No, he was just being friendly, because somebody else to play, and that was great. Yeah, so then I just started playing oboe. I mean, I got to high school, and I had all these solos, and we had a really active high school program. They did operettas every year and an operetta every summer, and a band and orchestra and chorus, music, and I was just nonstop. I loving it. I like music, and I was in a youth orchestra with you may know about David Finkel, who's a cellist, has been in the Emerson Quartet for a long time. He's retired from that now, but he got a little chamber orchestra going with his father conducting. And that was in northern New Jersey, where I was, and in Madison. And I was like, looking back on it, I was the luckiest person alive. And to be able to get to do so much stuff, and another little community orchestra I was in. So, I was just like nonstop music. And the thought of doing anything else but music, I never crossed my mind until I started thinking I got to go to college. And I thought, I need a real career, I need a real job, and what am I going to train for? And so I thought I'd do math. I really liked math. And I thought so I went to Baldwin Wallace College to be a math major. And I didn't really know much about their music program there, Baldwin Wallace Conservatory of Music in Ohio, Cleveland area. And I really, really didn't know. And man, I got there and they didn't want me to be in the orchestra because, there were plenty of oboe players, and I wasn't that good yet. I was just raw out of high school. I'd done a lot of stuff, but not seriously, really. And so I had a big, come to Jesus moment and say, hey, I can't live without music. I really have to do this. I have to do this. And I gave up the math, which wasn't so easy for me anyway. Turned out it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Took Calculus 101 and I barely survived, So, I got into music. And
well, Go ahead.
Sorry, that was a long answer to what was your simple question? How did you get started? Okay.
I was going to say, I commend you for even trying to be a math major, because that never even.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I gave up math. Forget it. I'm fascinated by all kinds of things about math and algebra and calculus and all that, but I don't know nothing about it.
We get enough of that in reed making, right?
Yes, right. Exactly. Right. That's quite true.
So you were inspired to change your major to music. Could you tell us about your professional journey and how you got to your position today?
Yeah, so I was at Baldwin-Wallace College, was extremely lucky because they had a great conservatory and a wonderful teacher that took a great interest in me and gave me a lot of extra time. And but didn't make reeds all that well, like he was good. He was very good. He could be very nice player. But I would say I had to do this myself, and that was quite good. At least he didn't just give me a reed, and play. And I had to make my own reeds. And so I just was at Baldwin-Wallace College, and I was in the suburbs of Cleveland, right? And so I ended up having a few lessons with John Mack as well. He was really nice to take me on. It's just somebody come on a Saturday or something. And I did a couple of lessons with him over the years. And with the approval of my teacher there, Dr. Galen Kroll at Baldwin-Wallace. And wow, Mack was just, he's, we all know who Mack was and how he inspired like so many people. So he really got me inspired too about reed making as well. And so, yeah, I did Baldwin-Wallace College. I got that done. I was still being practical, and I got a music ed degree, bachelor's in music education. So I thought, well, this is all very good, and I love music, but, so I got a teaching job in middle school in Florida near Miami. Fort Lauderdale area, actually it was called Coral Springs Middle School. And it was a nice new program, and they needed a band director. And I thought, great. So I went down there and I started doing that. And I love the kids. The kids were just great, wonderfully fun to work with, but it wasn't really what I really, really wanted to do, and the long and short of it is I did that for 3 years. And the principal and I thought, it's, he said, this is not really what's in your heart, and I agreed. I liked the kids, but, I really wanted to play in symphony and stuff. And so I was very lucky when I first got down there that the Fort Lauderdale Symphony, conducted by Emerson Buckley at the time, who was the first conductor to ever work with Pavarotti. Pavarotti, came to the United States eventually, and Emerson Buckley was the one who brought him here. So that's a long story. But that symphony had an opening for second oboe and English horn. And it was like right when I got down there. And so I auditioned. Here I was a band director, and I auditioned for that, and I got it. So I was second oboe and English horn and doing that. But of course, that had some conflicts now and then with the teaching in the public schools. Mm-hmm. You really have to put your heart into being band director, and bless every one of band directors in our country who are dedicated to the students. They have to give up a lot of other things they want to do. And I guess I wasn't quite ready to do that, for me. And that's okay, So I said, I got to go back to school. And so I went up to New Jersey, where my home was, my parents, and I started taking lessons with Tom Stacy and the New York Phil. And because I really, really wanted to do English horn a lot. And by golly, I got into Juilliard. So I did that master's for Juilliard, and then I did my doctorate at Juilliard. And then I started looking for teaching jobs. And University of Nebraska, Lincoln opened up a job there in 1986. And I interviewed and came out. And I got the job. So I've been here since then. It's been a while. But I'm very, very lucky here, too, as well. Because here at UNL, because, you guys came and visited and got to see a little bit of the city. But we have the not only an active quintet, faculty quintet, and not only my own recitals and working with students, but also a symphony. At that time when I came, there were two orchestras, the Lincoln Symphony and the Nebraska Chamber Orchestra. And of course, an hour's drive away is the Omaha Symphony. But that was just extras once in a while. I play with them. So there are a lot of playing opportunities. And so we have the Lincoln Symphony now, and that is going great guns. Ed Polachek, our conductor there, has been so helpful in getting the community actively engaged in the symphony, and it's just it's a real hoot to see him work with the community, the people. And so the orchestra is surviving. I think we were not so sure about 20 years ago, and it was up and down. We had a conductor or two now and then that didn't really want to work as much with the community, great conductors, but you have to have that balance. And so Ed's been a terrific person with the community. And so the numbers are up, and so we're getting more and more people going. It's never a perfect sold out house every single time, but so that's in addition to my teaching at the university. And there are a number of us that are doing that, a number of us wind players and string players on the faculty that get to do that. And so with that, and then playing with other colleagues like in quintet, we're doing a lot of quartets next semester, wind quartets without horn. So that's a new adventure. We're going to try that for a year. And
Yeah, we did get to visit Lincoln. It was phenomenal. It's a wonderful university, wonderful school of music. And we want to dig into, your work and career more. But over the course of your career, undoubtedly, you've had the chance to serve on search committees. And many of our listeners aspire to not only enter higher ed, but to, work at a R1 large school of music like that where you teach. And so I wonder if you could share kind of some of the things you've learned in the hiring process and some things that you value that make a candidate stand out.
Sure. Right. Well, I've been on some bassoon search committees. We have Nathan here now, and I was on that committee, and a violin committee as well. And there may have been another one, but I can't remember right now. So the committees, when you look through the file, you're really looking for somebody who's just stellar as a player. I initially just look and say, wow, how well do they play? Have they got something to say musically? Then have they done the work they need? Nowadays, you have to have a doctorate at the university. You have to have a DMA. We don't take anybody. We used to take people who only had a master's. That was like 30 years ago. Now it's always a doctorate. So you got to get a doctorate. And what have you done with the research that you were doing in your doctorate? How's that stand out? Because, you're going to do some research and to get your dissertation or document or whatever, and then you're going to probably use some of that research as a focus maybe for a couple of years when you get a teaching job. And how does that show a lot of creative activity on the part of the candidate? So be a great player. I'm just phenomenally well in tune. Can play not only great solos and great repertoire, but can play well with other people. I mean, after all, this is a collaborative adventure that we have in music. You have to work well with each other, you got to get along, and you got to play in tune, and you got to be able to work with each other. You have to play well with each other in the sandbox, as they say, and so you're looking for that, some sort of collaboration with other people. What have you done there? How great a player you are, what kind of experiences you've had.
So you, going back to your journey, it seems like you made a conscious choice to go into higher education. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that. You were, second oboe and English horn in Fort Lauderdale, and then you went back to school, studied with an orchestral player. What convinced you that higher ed was the way to go instead of taking auditions for orchestras?
Well, I would do a couple auditions, and I did get to sub for about 45 to 50 concerts with the New York Philharmonic during the 5 years that I did my doctorate, or 4, 5, whatever, a couple of years like that. And so I got to work with some phenomenal people, Leonard Bernstein, of course, and we made and others, filling in for my teacher, Tom Stacy, when he wasn't able to make it for something. And sometimes at the last minute, you get a call at like 3 p.m, can you make it to the concert tonight at 7:30? And whoa, yeah, okay. You get there an hour ahead of time, and the second oboe player, Jerry Roth, would say, "Here, look at this part, look at this part. Those are exposed. You should be okay. Okay, great." Concert happens, and you realize there are a few more spots that were pretty exposed too. So there's a couple stories there. Yeah, so I did a lot of playing, and I guess I just like working with people so much. I like working with students. Golly, I mean, I like working with young students who are excited about playing oboe, and it's just so much fun there. Both my parents were teachers. Okay, so I grew up in a teaching environment. My dad taught English at the college level, and my mom taught second grade. And those two extremes. I don't teach classroom English like that, but that sort of thing. But I love working in a classroom setting. I have to teach music theory here at the university, so that's something that actually it's a whole different ballgame than just teaching a private lesson, or a studio lesson. You're teaching the classroom, you get about 30 people in there, and some dynamics. It's kind of fun. I really enjoy, the social dynamics of teaching. I played second oboe and English horn in the Fort Lauderdale Symphony for about 3 or 4 years. And some of the players were, they were fine players, really good people. But I would say some of the people that I worked with there were a bit jaded, at least at the time that I was there. Just sort of, I guess always kind of like looking on the sour side of things, but they played well, so when the concert came, it was fun, but I don't know, the social dynamics at that time with those people when I was there just didn't get me excited. I thought, I don't know, I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to be hanging around with people who are always kind of complaining. Now that obviously was just at that time with those people that I was with, and those things change from year to year, orchestras and orchestra and players and so on. But I guess that was an influence on me at that time. And I've always I liked teaching, and I thought, well, if I can get a teaching job and do some playing, so
it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best of both worlds. I mean, we did Beethoven 9 a month and a half ago, and we did a program with Renee Fleming, some Strauss songs and stuff. And I mean, that's good stuff. I mean, well, you all know Beethoven 9. I mean, and that's something.
I've heard of it, yes.
You've heard of it too. I mean, you all know what I mean is you all know about those moments in that symphony. There are many symphonies where that's so true, but there are moments in that symphony where you're just in another world. I mean, there's a reason it's a masterpiece, because it is. So that's one thing, I find myself doing a lot, and I think I would like my students to do that too, is to get out of their shell, get out of their cells, get away from their own, here I am, I'm a person, and get into the music, and there are moments when I don't want to ever stop doing that. I'm playing this good reed, and I've got great solos, and when there's a repeat and we go back and do it again, scherzo, like in the second movement of Beethoven 9, I mean, you have to play some things that are tricky, and you got to play them again, and then you got to do it again, Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's another world. It's so beautiful. And so that's what is life. That's life.
I really resonate with what you said about the social aspect of teaching being so fulfilling. Yeah. And I wonder if you could share with us maybe some of your favorite teaching memories, like some aha moments that have stuck out to you in your teaching career.
I'm not sure that, when something, I guess it happens a lot in lessons when something works, or, I had a lesson a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, oh yeah, that what I was telling you to do really works. Oh, okay. That's kind of fun. I guess when you can joke with a oboe student that I'm working with, and have fun and get to know them and present personality and more relaxed. It's just so great, when you were here for Double Reed Day, right? We had the master classes, and we had some high school students. And one of them, we had several there. One of them his name is Ethan, and he's coming next year. And
Nice.
I don't know if you remember, he played the Vaughan Waves. And, there was a moment, he was playing the end of the first movement. And so you're talking about moments like, you kind of talk about, we'll try this. And then they do it, and they just phrase that phrase just so. I mean, he's not the only one that's ever done this. I'm just saying that's something that comes to mind right now. And it's like, oh, not only is it a great masterpiece of music, Vaughan Williams Concerto, but you have a student who really, really latched on to something you were trying to say. And I think they realized it too, that there was like something that was, oh, wow, that was kind of special, the way you turn that phrase, or a little vibrato there, or a little extra, or just, dynamic level. And yeah, I mean, that's just one of many, many situations. I work with Allie. She's gonna come here next year too. She was on the master classes, and she was doing some Poulenc, and it just ethereal beginning of that Poulenc, sonata. It just comes out of nowhere. And when she did that, it was like, ooh, I mean, I guess I got favorite moments every month.
Oh, that's the best.
So you were talking about how higher ed allows you to, cultivate different parts of yourself, the colleague, the teacher, the player. And one thing I love about being in higher ed is that it encourages us to be project oriented and kind of pursue our interests and dig deep. And I would love to hear, you'd mentioned already your affinity for the English horn, and that was something you were really interested in. And you wrote a book, Soloistic English Horn Literature, 1736 to 1984.
Oh, look at it right there.
What the heck? Yeah.
I would love to tell us about the book and the concept and the process. We'd love to hear about that project.
Well, I was really doing a lot of English horn for my doctorate. My DMA, studying with Tom Stacey, who I adored, as a player, my God. And, wow. And going to like tons of concerts and just going to the Philharmonic and listening, right? So I came to him one day and I said, where is there a book, that lists all these solos on English horn that I need to learn? And he said, well, there isn't any book. There wasn't. And so I thought, gee, maybe I should create a book, He had so many works commissioned, and written for him, right? And the advisor that I had in the doctoral program was Barry Brook. He taught at Columbia, I believe it was at Columbia, and he came and taught the doctoral students at Juilliard in regards to research. And his big thing was thematic catalogs. And so I thought, well, gee, there's no English horn book, and my advisor, Barry Brook, his big thing is thematic catalogs, and he would love to see that too. And I thought, I'll do it. So I just started, in a very obsessive way on note cards, etc., just writing down every piece I could find, right? And, for the purpose of creating recitals, so I could do a whole bunch of recitals and get done with the degree. But also, to come up with some sort of resource so I could play some more pieces in the future and everything. And lo and behold, I made a dissertation out of it. And then Barry Brook had a good friend, Bob Kessler, who's no longer alive, but he ran the publishing company Pendragon Press. And Pendragon Press is more of a scholarly publishing, music scholarly publishing house. And they had a lot of really fine titles, there's and so it just happened. Barry Brook recommended my dissertation to him, and Bob Kessler said, yeah, let's get that going and get it published. So, I was just, like I say, I'm the luckiest person in the world. All of a sudden I knew they wanted to make a book out of it. I mean, it wasn't something where it's very hard, I think, today. You want to try to make a book out of something, but you've got some great ideas. I didn't try. I just did all the work and research, but then I didn't, Now, to be honest, the job at the University of Nebraska Lincoln requires a lot of oboe. You're teaching oboe every day, and I feel like I have to keep up on that a lot. So the English horn has kind of slipped a little bit. I don't play as much on English horn as I used to. Kind of forgotten some of the dimensions that I use for making. Really, I've got the same tools and all of that. So it was a lot of fun doing that book. Really, it was terrific.
Are there any English horn hidden gems that you would like to recommend to our listeners?
In the book itself, see, I stopped at 1984. That was when my dissertation, right? So, you've got, okay, I'm going to pull out my top 10 list here. Don't say anything wrong, Donizetti Concertino, right? We all know that. It's not a hidden gem. And Hindemith Sonata. Arthur Honegger's Concerto da Camera. With flute, right? So that's terrific. Gordon Jacob Rhapsody, the Persichetti Concerto and Persichetti Parable, and Strobachevsky Concerto. Those are all great works. And Sibelius Suona Tuonela. Those are some of the works that I kind of focused on in like a little essay at the beginning of the book. Mm-hmm. The thing is, 1984, somebody out there, somebody ought to do volume 2.
Yes. Listeners, take note.
Really, really. There's a need. Because there is so much more out there. I think since 1984, there's been a ton of stuff out there. And I constantly run across something I've never heard of. Those works need to be known, and they need to be in a volume 2, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be a thematic catalog. I like thematic catalogs. I look at, Strobachevsky. Well, gee, what does it sound like? There's a theme or two in the book. And that's easy. Or Paul Hindemith, what does that sound like? So, you can get an idea. There's been a lot of good stuff since then.
You also mentioned earlier that at least your undergraduate teacher didn't focus on reads so much. And we always like to hear, get read advice. It is a Double Read podcast. So can we start off with the nerdy stuff? Your setup, what shape do you use? What staples do you use? And then maybe some general read making advice for us and our listeners.
Well, I do like to experiment and try different things, but right now I've been doing a lot of like a Charugi 47-2 or like a Larray staple, right? And those work pretty well for me. Anything 2+, it's a little bit too big. I don't get that. Doesn't work too much for my setup. I've been using a Mac++ shaper tip. And by the way, I'm using Udo Hang equipment, so I have a shaper machine, which I just love. It's like boom, 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 just shape it in 2 seconds. So I'm doing a Mac++ shaper tip made for that machine. And that has been very, very stable for me. That's worked really well. I like that a lot. So 47, you got to have a reed that crows a C octave. So that's the thing. John Mack had lessons. He said, let me hear you crow a reed. And so I did. It crowed a C octave. He said, okay, great. Let's go on something else. But he really, the thing is, he never taught me how to crow a reed C octave, right? To get a C octave out of it. And so I don't know how to teach that. As I don't consistent. I find students have a hard time doing. I'll demonstrate a million times how to do that. And here's what you do. And it's so important in making a good read. But I will say I'd love to have some suggestions. How do you teach a student to crow or read so it's a C octave?
That's the beautiful thing about what we do is that it's this endless mystery. It's never. We never get there.
Well, isn't there some sort of mythological story where somebody's reaching for an apple but he never gets it or something? I can't remember the name of who that is.
I don't know, but it feels very familiar.
Someone's screaming at their listening device the answer somewhere.
The limit does not exist.
That is actually one of the most frustrating things about being an oboist or a double reed player or in the music business is you never get there. You never are, quote, a success,
Mm-hmm.
right? In your own mind. There's always more to do. And that's, I think, really hard for a lot of people, right?
Some might say infuriating.
You want to say, I figured it out. But as soon as you figure it out, you get another piece of cane that's a little bit different.
Oh God, I know it. I know.
So all the nerdy stuff. I mean, that's what I've been doing, and I use I've been using Dan Ross gougers a lot. Right now, I'm also using a gouger from Udo Hang, the one with the cylinder, and that's really worked well. It's centered, it's not offset, so that's good. I've been using also Inalady gouger, and that works very well. I use it definitely as a pre-gouger, but then sometimes I go all the way and just use it dry. But so that's stuff, and got to get it to read across the octave. Now, lately, over the summer, well, actually, because of that Strauss 4 last songs we played with Renee Fleming, low D, D flat, low C, really soft at the very end of one of those movements, and soft response. I had to have low notes just pop out, right? So I went to a wider shape. I have a shape designed by Albert Meyer. You can get it through, it's ALMA, ALMA is the abbreviation on the shaper tip that you can get for the shaper machine with Udo Hang. And wow, that's been very, very hard to get it to work just right. But when I do, whoa, like, so I think since it's wider, I have to make a shorter read, 69.5, maybe 69 3/4 instead of 70. And the low notes were popping out, so I had no problem. It's just that you can't play extreme high note stuff all day long on a read like that. So I need a little bit more narrow. The Mac++ is, for me, works really well.
Is there anything other than the octave C crow that you look for as like touchstones in your reed making? What are your reed making parameters? Like, what are you?
Yeah, the pitch, the intonation is it.
Okay.
I mean, it really is, because you can play a hard reed, but if it's in tune, you can get by. I mean, you gotta have a C octave. You really do. I mean, yeah, okay, you have to have it respond. It has to be comfortable. It has to be open enough to play the notes, the low notes you want, and so on. It all has to be there. It has to have a great tone and color. So I'm also using an Udo Hang reed profiler. Okay, so I've got Alex Klein tip profile on there, and although he's got several different kinds, I think, but the one I'm using is pretty good. It drops up, and when I've got it set up so that I have the profiler just scrape that tip down, and then you don't do much more. You do a little bit more on the tip and a little bit in the back and get it to work, and you make it read very quickly. But I've been leaving the center of the tip alone. Like the machine does the center of that tip, and I do the corners and, a little bit of the heart in the back. And sometimes I'll clip the center of the tip just a little bit to get a darker tone. So you're looking for a tone in a reed that you can just let your lips go. You don't have to have, now this is going to sound awful, you don't have to have an embouchure. now that's not really what I'm saying. You have to have a good embouchure, but you don't have to think about your embouchure all day long while you're playing. You can just sort of get into the music. Right. And when you don't have to think about an embouchure, because the tone color is what you want, it's not too bright, right? It's C octave, so you're not biting the heck out of it to get it in tune. And it's, responsive. What more do you want?
Yeah, you're basically looking for something that makes the actual physical playing effortless.
That's what you want. That is exactly what you want. You don't want to think about the reed.
Mm-hmm.
You play a concerto, and you're out there playing the Mozart concerto. If you're thinking about the reed, you're going to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're, playing a solo in an orchestra or playing an etude for your teacher in a lesson, if all you're really thinking about is that reed, it ain't going to go well.
Right.
You have to get beyond the reed. So we spend all our lives making reeds so that we don't have to think about it. It's kind of weird, isn't it? I mean,
it's a terrible irony.
Yeah, you the great reeds that you've had in your life, you don't think about them when you play. You think about the music. And if you can do that, you're in hog heaven. Really, right? You think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Could we hear about the instrument you're currently playing and how it found its way to you?
Well, I guess I've always done Lorrays, and they just have the best combination for me of response, and of course the intonation, the tone, the color I wanted. So I'm playing a Loray AK. Actually, I have two. And in the winter here, we get kind of really bad weather. I have one at home and I have one at school. And they're very close to each other right now. So they're very similar oboes. They're not the same. And so Loray AK. And although I've tried other oboes, Tom Hineker, who's a genius, right? And makes phenomenal gems. I mean, these are like masterpieces, oboes. I was able to have one for a couple of weeks. I mean, I bought it, and it just it was a masterpiece. I mean, the thing is, he's a genius, but it did not respond for me at that time with the shape I was using and everything. And maybe I should have. Oh well, so I sent it back, and he had someone else buy it, and so I've tried that. And, I'll be at IDRS this summer. You guys will be there probably, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to try some oboes.
Oh, yeah.
So, I guess I'm looking to get the one I have right now are 5 and 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of old. I mean, really, I'm looking for something new. I had a new one a year ago, and I liked it a lot. I got it from Carlos. It was wonderful. And then it didn't, I don't know, it didn't quite suit me at the time. But I had a student buy it, and he's loving it. And it works really well for him. So, and it'll grow and it'll change, and he'll change with it too. And so it was a good fit.
Can you share with us some favorite memories from a past performance?
I think I told you that story when we had Double Reed Day and I mentioned it the other day or earlier in this podcast where I got called as a student. I was a student in New York City, and I got called that afternoon to come and play that evening concert with the Philharmonic on one contemporary piece. Just the first piece on the program. It was like an overture, and then I didn't have to do the rest of the concert. And my teacher, Tom Stacy, was sick with a cold, I think, really bad cold or flu or something, and he had gone all rehearsals. And maybe one concert, I'm not sure. But, he couldn't make the second concert. He was just sick. And so I went in and played. And I got there an hour before, and Jerry Roth, wonderful man, second oboe player, was there early too. And he said, yeah, there's this spot and this spot. So I looked those spots over and made sure I really knew the counting. I was really careful. And great. Okay, Zuameda comes out. We start playing the piece. And or was it? That was Colin Davis. And we come out and go through the piece. And we get that first spot, no problem. Second spot, no problem. I'm not lost. I'm okay. I got it. I'm happy with my sound, and I'm doing okay. We get to another spot, and it's like, it's just me and the principal flute and the principal viola. And a little like 8-measure thing. And it's like, wait a minute. Am I lost? And I thought, no, I'm not. I'm going to just keep barreling on. And that was pretty exposed too, So I got done with the concert, got with that performance of that piece. And I leaned over to Jerry and he said, yeah, there's that spot too.
You're like, oopsie, thank you.
No, but what was, I think, a good illustration there of me just, I think I'm better sometimes sight reading. Just, I don't know what the piece is going to sound like. Really, I don't know it enough, really. I'm just going to dive in and just do it and just play it. And I think if all my students could do that, if I can do that every time when I play, if I just dive in and just play the music, Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about, oh, this note is going to come out, right? This note is going to be in tune. Oh, yeah, work on your reeds, get them in tune, and do your best, really. But get into the music, really just dive into the music. Think about being in the audience at the same time that you're also on the stage, and you're in the audience listening to you play. And you're thinking, boy, all I really want to do, because we've done this many times, we go listen to our students. All you want to do in the audience is to hear that oboe player or that English horn player, and you just want to hear them play really well and just dive into the music, right? And just totally forget about the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, then wow, then you're okay. And lucky for me, that third spot, I just dove into the music. I was sure I was not lost, and I was okay. So,
well, that sounds like it could have been a very embarrassing moment.
Yes.
So now we want to hear about an actual embarrassing moment or something funny that happened on stage. Make us laugh a little bit with a memory.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. I was at a summer music camp, Rocky Ridge Music Center, and I did that for 23 years, summers, great, fun, chamber music a lot, right? And we had a program that faculty played that Sunday afternoon, and it was supposed to be all Norwegian and Swedish and Finnish music, Northern Europe. And we had the Nielsen Quintet ready to go, right? We were going to play the Nielsen Quintet, Danish. Okay, so that would fit into the program. Well, a week before the concert, the clarinetist couldn't play. And I don't know if it was illness or it was a conflict or concert or something came up, whatever. We had no clarinet for the Nielsen Quintet. So that, oh boy, what about this program of Northern European music, right? So we did have a Telemann trio sonata that we could play and whip up pretty quickly that the flutist knew and I knew, and our keyboard player, harpsichord, my wife, Catherine, she was playing harpsichord. And we knew that. We could play that, and that would have been fine. And we were ready to play that. So we thought, let's just put that on the program, which is not Norwegian, not Swedish, not Finnish music, right? So what we're going to do on the program anyway, we're just going to do it. And we had to come up with a reason. Like, can we tie this into the program in any way at all, So I did some research and in New Grove Dictionary Music. And I made an announcement when we got up to the concert. And we obviously had a piece of music that was not from Norway, not from Sweden, not from Finland. I said, this is a trio by Telemann. And the only connection we have is that Telemann's first wife ran away with a Swedish naval officer.
Oh,
and then so that was our only connection. So that's a non-musical thing.
I'll tell you what, I learned something today and I'm happy about it.
I know. Not making me laugh musically, but and then we played the program. Everybody loved it. And it was just
I love that.
That was our, Norwegian music or Swedish music. That was just the last minute thing. We just had to come up with something, so.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's awesome.
I love that.
It's true. If you look it up in New Grove. His first wife ran away.
Bill, we always love to end with this question. What advice do you have for a young musician who aspires to have a career like yours?
Find out what you really, really, really want to do. What do you really like in life? What do you really want to do? You want to play the oboe? Then just keep at it. I mean, I think the world is tough. There's a lot of people out there who are good, and you think, oh, I'll never be that good, and I'll never be able to get a job, blah, 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 blah. But you keep at it and you love it. You're going to work extra hard and you're going to be good enough to do it because you're just going to love doing it. And there's a lot of practicing that has to be done all by yourself. One summer I locked myself in a practice room and did nothing but sell their etudes, and, I don't want to do that again. I love them, but, that really paid off because I don't know, I just loved them. I liked playing them at that time. I really loved them a lot, and I still use them. So you got to find something you really, really like doing a lot. I like the social aspect of being involved in music, working with other people. I like making them laugh, having a good time with people. It's just keep at it. But find out more than that. Find out if that's what you really, really love. And for me, when I went to college and I was a math major, they would not let me in the orchestra because they had too many oboe players, right? So that was the best thing ever, because then it made me realize I'm just going to have to not do oboe at all. So I stopped for like 7 weeks. Touched the oboe, and I was driving myself crazy, and I knew I had to play oboe. I just had to figure out some way to do it. So, I realized at that moment, that's really what I want to do. I don't know if I want to make any money on it or what I'm going to have. And I've been very lucky, and I have made enough to survive, I'm not making as much as some of my colleagues who were in high school, who went on to become engineering majors and CEOs of big companies and stuff like that. Well, I'm sure they're making like 8 times as much money as I ever will make ever. But I'm making enough to enjoy what I'm doing. If you can make enough money just to survive and then keep doing what you really like to do, then you are a success.
Bill, thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful way to spend an hour, and we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us on Double Reed Dish.
Well, it's been a great pleasure to get to know you guys. It's been a real pleasure. So I look forward to seeing you again at the IDRS convention this summer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Todd, and we'll have something to say about some performance somewhere, I'm sure.
Okay, you know the deal. Follow us on social media. Come say hi to us at the conference. Come to our live show. Come to our recital at IDRS. Compliment our hair. Compliment our reads. And tune into the next episode, who will be featuring
Javier Rodriguez, Associate Professor of Bassoon at the University of Idaho. Jackie, we got to start making these high altitude reads.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Go make reads.
Yeah, it's going to be the real nerd parade in a couple weeks.